Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Final Vendetta on the Nintendo Switch. This game was brought to us by Numskull Games and Bitmap Bureau. I recently bought the collector's edition of this game. If you want to see the difference in between the normal version, the collector's edition and the super limited edition, please take a look at one of my previous videos. I'll put a card up on the screen. I'm not going to talk a lot about the story, but more about the gameplay and whether this game was fun or not. But before we get into that, hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage, Mage's Quest to talk about games. In today's video I want to talk about my thoughts on Final Vendetta on the Nintendo Switch. If you're one of the 100 plus subscribers on the channel so far, thank you very much. It's literally the only way this channel can grow. If you like our content, please consider clicking that like button and subscribing to the channel. When first playing the game, I noticed that there was a little CRT/pixelated effect on the intro logos, which is a really nice touch. When you get to the main menu, you'll see that the options are Player 1, Player 2, and, well, options. So if we go into Player 1, we can see that there's an arcade mode, a survival mode, a boss rush mode, and a training mode. All these three modes are actually locked behind finishing the game. If you want to unlock survival mode, you're going to have to finish the game with Duke. If you want to unlock boss rush mode, you're going to have to finish the game with Claire. And lastly, if you want to unlock the training mode, more on this a little bit later, you just have to finish the arcade mode. So in the options menu, as you can see here on screen, we have the difficulty, so you have easy and hard, and then there's an ultra difficulty mode which you can unlock, but you have to finish the arcade mode with Miller in hard mode. We then have vibration feature on or off, we have a CRT shader, which I'll turn on so you can see it a little bit here. I actually like it. We have an audio setting. Here you can set the volumes for music and or sound, and a nice old school touch by having the BGM option where you can cycle through the game's music. It is worth it. So I'll turn the CRT option off for now. Then we have controls. In the control menu, you'll notice that there's a control configuration. There are 24 different configurations that you can change here. Achievements wise, as you can see here on screen, we have 32 different achievements, which is a decent amount, and I actually didn't expect them to be here at all, so 2 thumbs up for actually including achievements. Then we have a languages feature. I'll throw that up on screen so you can see all the languages included. Always a nice thing also to have in games. And lastly, in the options menu, we have the high scores. So by selecting arcade mode for player 1, you'll be treated to this how to play screen, very reminiscent of Neo Geo games. These aren't the only moves as it says at the end of this section, but it is really helpful. Also, there's a block in this game, which is kind of weird, but it can be a good tactical option to use. After that, we get the player select screen. So as you can see, we have 3 characters. On the left, we have Miller, and then we have Claire sitting on the stairs, and we have Duke sitting down playing what looks like a SNES. Each one has a slightly different gameplay style. So Miller is the strong character of the 3, Claire is the most mobile, and Duke is the most balanced of the 3, at least for me. I love playing retro games. Beat 'em ups are one of my favourite genres, but this game will require a little bit of patience. After having the game for a few days, I still haven't finished the game with any character. The game is hard, but I do want to go back and try again to finish it. I just leave a little time in between tries so that I don't get frustrated with the game like arcade games back in the day. So the game has a total of 6 levels, I think. I say I think because I haven't got past level 4. I just can't get past it. To be fair, the first few times I played the game, I didn't even think I'd get past the scientist boss. Eventually I did, so I guess you do get better playing the game. Graphics wise, the game looks really nice. A really nice retro look. I do like the big characters on screen. These look great. If I didn't know this was a new game and saw this running on an arcade, I would definitely believe this game was a game from back in the day. To me, this is a really big plus when it comes to the graphics and the animation style. Enemies also join in from the background into the foreground, which is always a really nice touch and always brings a smile to my face. I also like the enemies who are just standing, sitting, or dancing around before they join in. Music wise, the music is excellent. I'm so happy I bought the collector's edition because that came with a soundtrack CD, and for me, it's already becoming one of my favourite soundtracks. Sound effects are okay, there is a little voice acting, but it is very little. Gameplay wise, at first the game seems quite simplistic, but there are quite a few moves per character, which was a welcome surprise for me. So as you can see here on screen, I'm using Miller. So there's an attack by pressing Y, a back attack by pressing Y and X, and a strong attack by pressing X and A. But if you're throwing some combinations, like holding down while doing some moves, you'll find that another move is pulled off. So it is good to actually experiment to see what kind of variations you can find to the gameplay. My overall thoughts on this game is that the game is fun. It's just a little frustrating to lose and not progress towards something in game. I do think you actually improve the more you play, the more you lose, because obviously you start to become more familiar with the game, and that tends to change your gameplay style. The first few times I played, I didn't realize you could juggle enemies. Now I'm constantly trying to do so if I can. I think that using the same method for all enemies might not be the recommended tactic here. You have to change it up depending on which enemy you're facing. For example, with not Mario and not Luigi here, I found that hitting them twice, trying to grab them and chuck them across the screen was the most effective way for me against these enemies. Also, this might be one of the best throws in gaming history. I love this animation. With these type of enemies, I try to hit again if possible, and then throw. I'm not sure, but it does seem like the devs wanted us to learn the game by playing it various times to finish it. The training mode is behind an achievement. Yes, that's right, the training mode is locked at the beginning of the game. This game does seem to suggest that by playing it and losing, you get better, therefore you come back to try and beat the game. Now, one of the tools that the game has for this is a training mode, which I'd like to access, but you unlock it after you finish the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do we not usually have a training mode and use it before we finish the game? This is a weird decision. I really do think that this game needs to have this mode unlocked from the beginning. If they're worried about us seeing characters that we haven't got to that level yet, just lock them out until we get to that level. Therefore, when you lose a level, you know you can go to the training mode, and now you can try your best to get better against them. The difficulty of this game does need to be changed a little, and I did try to think of ways to do so. The first way I thought of is adding more lives, like credits in the arcade. So by pressing maybe the left shoulder button, you can get another credit or another life, but by doing so you would lose 100,000 points or 200,000 points each time, therefore sacrificing points for continues. I think that's a good balance, but again, that's just me. Secondly, balance the difficulty by decreasing the enemy frequency. Maybe there are too many enemies on screen at once. Also slowing down the movement of the enemies might help, and the fact that they always surround the player. Again, these are just my ideas. Let me know some of your ideas down in the comments. I think the modes in the game would also need to be renamed. Easy should be renamed to arcade, normal should be renamed to hard, and the easy mode maybe include some of the changes that I just mentioned. Lastly, like I said, I think the game looks good and plays well. The music, I think, is one of the highlights of the whole package. I am generally patient playing beat 'em up games, as I just have a tendency to leave it if it gets too frustrating and then come back to it eventually. This game does remind me of another game on the Switch, which is Has Been Heroes. I also like this game and I thought it was fun, but when you lose, you have to start all over again. You don't feel like you're losing because the game is cheap in any way, but you feel like maybe you have to learn the game a little bit more. But by losing consistently to learn the process of the game, it does frustrate you ultimately as a player. Final Vendetta might need to tone down the difficulty a bit, or introduce a similar feature to one of the ones I mentioned earlier. One of the features I like the most from Streets of Rage 4 is that points were accumulating and unlocking new things every run. So even if you are losing, you're still making progress towards something in game. So what do you all think of Final Vendetta on the Nintendo Switch? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? How would you change it? Please leave your impression down in the comment section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like our content, we have a few videos talking about games, mostly arcade and retro on the channel. If you'd like to watch these, please take a look. If you like our content and you want to help the channel grow, please click that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more of our content in the future. And until then, thanks again.